Hello, you absolute legends. In January of 2025, Elon Musk, the world's richest man, was exposed for lying to the gaming community about his video game accomplishments. In December, he had posted to Twitter numerous times on his alt account, bragging about all of the work he'd put into his Path of Exile 2 hardcore character. On hardcore mode, if your character dies a single time, the character is lost forever, so getting to a very high level is a difficult task, and Elon was very proud of himself for how far he'd gotten. On January 7, he streamed Path of Exile, proud of himself.
Menu hardcore character at Path of Exile. Perseverance is on the leaderboard now at level 87. Oh, I just hate him so much. And he just keeps going out. He never claimed to be high ranked or anything. What is it? Like, what is this? He's so pathetic. Oh, it's crazy, dude. Crazy. What? And why is his account not fucking banned?
For how far he'd gotten. On January 7, he streamed Path of Exile 2 on his main Twitter account, and he showcased just how far his character had come. It was now one of the highest leveled characters in the entire world, which would have taken many hours to accomplish. And not only would it have taken a long time, but he would have needed to be very efficient to keep up with all of the other gamers who weren't also hanging out with Donald Trump and allegedly running multiple companies. But there was a problem. It was obvious from Elon's gameplay that he had no idea what he was doing. He was a complete noob, and not only did he lack the basic fundamentals of high-level Path of Exile play, but he seemed to lack some basic fundamentals of action RPGs in general. It was immediately obvious that he had barely played the game, let alone played enough to level his character to the point it was. Elon had been lying. The truth is that he had been paying other people to play his account for him, which he has since admitted. This entire situation was bizarre. The man has more money and more power than you could ever want, yet he still felt compelled to lie about something so trivial. And to top it off, his reaction to being exposed was arguably more childish and insecure than the original lie itself. But what I find interesting is that it was this particular claim that seems to have really ignited this entire scandal. Because it's one thing to say that you've leveled up a character in a video game, but it's another thing entirely to say that you used to be one of the best players in the world at one of the most competitive video games of all time.
Bro.
If you think about like StarCraft.
No, Thresh has called him out already. Thresh has called him out. He's wrong. He's taking a big L here. Taking a big L. He's been claiming to be cracked at Quake, but the actual arguable first professional gamer in the world who actually was aware of Elon Musk, he laughs at him. He calls him trash. Okay? Literal trash.
Or any game like Quake, any game where a lot of people are playing, to rise to the top, you have to be exceptional, period, as a human being.
Yeah.
There has to be something exceptional about you.
Yeah. Actually, if I mention Quake, way back in the day, I was one of the world's best Quake players.
I know we talked about this.
Yeah.
I loved Quake.
And not only was he one of the best, but he was even semi-professional.
A long time ago, I was like semi-pro good at Quake. This is really dating me.
In fact, he was part of one of the best teams, and they even came second in the first esports tournament ever, and he won thousands of dollars.
One of the best teams in the country, actually. And I think it was the first paid esports thing in the US. We ended up coming second in that. I think like we made a few $1,000s or something. So it was pretty good at Quake back in the day.
Elon has been making these claims for an entire decade, and they are orders of magnitude more outrageous than his Path of Exile 2 claims, and yet they didn't seem to cause any real backlash. Of course,
once no one's old enough to fucking know what the fuck Blur's yapping about. Okay? No one's that old.
Elon was classified as a liar in general.
And the thing is, people didn't think, like, no one did any digging as well, because you kind of just assumed it to be true, right? Because he's like got all these companies, super successful. He's supposed to be super smart or whatever. So he's like, oh yeah, way back in the day, I was good at Quake and I was cracked. So you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool, I guess. It's you know. And then you see him in the current year saying he's like a top ranked gamer, and it's clearly he has no idea what the fuck he's doing. He's completely lying out his ass. And then you're like, wait, if he's lying about this game, is he full of shit about the Quake thing?
because of his Path of Exile claims, all of his other claims of video game prowess were discarded as well, as almost certainly being fabricated. If he lied about his Path of Exile achievements, he probably lied about his Quake achievements too.
Yeah.
But that wasn't good enough for me. Elon made very specific claims about Quake history. He pointed to a specific tournament that occurred around a certain time period, and he even gave an exact prize amount for second place, which if true, would have been the biggest prize pool in Quake by far for the time. If this tournament existed, it would have left a footprint. However, if you just search Google for this supposed tournament, you will find nothing.
Yep.
There are multiple websites chronicling the history of Quake multiplayer, and they all list the major tournaments, but Elon's tournament is nowhere to be found. Honestly, I was ready to make a public statement that Elon's Quake claims were completely false. But then, out of nowhere, I found a crumb. A single breadcrumb that eventually led me all the way to the truth. In today's video, we will examine, among other things, Elon's claim of being one of the best Quake players in the world. Is it completely untrue, or is there even a hint of substance to what he says? Let's find out. I really hope you enjoy.
Bro, he played Quake, but he was dog shit. He played Quake, but he was dog shit. Okay, there you go, I've done it.
I have a lifetime of playing video games. At one point, I was, maybe one of the best Quake players in the world. I actually won money for.
He gets on
what I
this.
think was the first paid esports tournament in the US.
He's going
Elon
on.
has claimed many times that he was one of the best Quake players in the world, and his evidence to back up this claim is always the same. Elon states that he was in a team that came second in the first paid national esports tournament in America.
And a really long time ago, I was one of the world's best players of Quake. I think it was like the first esports tournament in the US, or they claimed it was.
There's a bot looping.
And we came second in that tournament. I think it was in like 96 or 97.
At one point, I was.
The guy was sick. He was sick, so, otherwise we would have won. If the other guy won. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of some guy, who just got, he got, 1900 in World of Warcraft, fucking, in Burning Crusade. And then, he just keep retelling the story of him being 1900, and then it was 2K, and then it was 2.1K, and then it was Gladiator, and then he was actually, the highest rated on the server. And then, actually, the story is oh, he was, the top guy. He was actually the top shaman. But he lost the account. He lost access to the account. Yeah, and it's just, they keep lying about it, and you see them playing the game, and they are just completely heinous. Heinous. They have no idea what they're doing. Complete 100% clueless. But for some reason, they have this giant ego. They were correct, because they've tricked even themselves into believing it.
Was quite competitive at Quake. Played what I think was maybe the first paid esports thing in the US. My team came second.
It's not a super long-term career being a pro gamer. I was semi-pro back in ancient times with Quake. So I actually made money and I had the first paid tournament in the US.
We're one of the best teams in the country, actually.
Yo, listen
I think it was the first.
Holy
I think the first
fuck.
paid esports thing in the US.
I think.
We ended up coming second in that. I think we made a few $1,000s or something. So it was pretty good at Quake back in the day.
Okay.
In theory, this should be easy to confirm, as it's a very specific claim, and the amount of money that Elon claims to have won for second place, several $1,000s, means that the prize pool would have had to have been massive. This absolutely would have left some kind of historical footprint. A superficial search of Google, however, yields no results that match this description. There are multiple websites that have been preserved that document the history of Quake, including the significant tournaments, and from these resources, a tournament of this size just didn't occur. The first Quake tournament that has both a cash prize and also historical evidence is the Red Annihilation tournament, which had its finals in June of '97.
Thresh.
This is one of the most significant tournaments in esports history, precisely because it's seen by many people to be the first true esports tournament, at least as we know esports today. In this event, 16 qualified players were flown to E397 for the finals, and the winner, Dennis Fong, aka Thresh, took first place, which had a prize of $5,000 cash and one of John Carmack's Ferraris.
Do you know that Thresh invented WASD? Chat, do you know he invented WASD? Like, WASD wasn't a thing until Thresh was like, yo, it's better to use WASD in space. He literally invented WASD. WASD. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. Who made WASD? Bro. He is credited for popularizing WASD. He invented WASD. Literal chills, bro. Literal chills. Yeah, he invented WASD. Like, no one was WASDing. It's like, oh, of course you're gonna use WASD. Everyone does WASD. You just use WASD. Bro, motherfuckers were using the arrow keys back in the day. That's how people were controlled, the arrow keys. Dude, think how much better it is to WSD than use the arrow keys. Like, just think about the ergonomics of that. Like, how, that's crazy that people weren't WASDing. And this guy was like, yo, what do we use WASD to control?
Annihilation helped to popularize Quake competition, and shortly after this event, the first esports leagues such as the Professional Gamers League and the Cyber Athlete Professional League were formed. From Red Annihilation onwards, everything is extremely well documented, and there is no existence of a team tournament that had a second place prize of several $1,000s. And there is also no historical evidence of any tournaments, prize pool or not, that Elon Musk or his team came second in. So if Elon did win anything, it must have been something after Quake was released in June '96, but before Red Annihilation, a year later. Though even if this tournament exists, whether or not it was the first paid national esports tournament really depends on your own definition of what esports and paid means. The reality is that people have been competing in national tournaments in video games and receiving money from it for decades. For example, in 1980, there was a National Space Invaders tournament where thousands of people competed. The regional winners were awarded $150 each, plus an all-expenses-paid trip to the finals. First and second place were awarded prizes, and third place received a $500 check. In 1981, the World Asteroids Championships took place in Washington, D.C., with the winner receiving $5,000, and second and third place winning $3,500 and $2,500 respectively. In 1990, the Nintendo World Championships was a massive video game tournament. Here, the winners in each age bracket received a car along with $10,000. If you are inclined to be a little less pedantic about what constitutes as paid, you can go far back as 1972 with the Intergalactic Space War Olympics, an event that many people consider to be the very first esports tournament. In 1984, there was a worldwide track and field arcade competition, where, according to Guinness World Records, over 1 million people participated, with the US winners receiving a Jeep and being flown to Japan for the World Finals.
That counts. That counts. That counts. This counts.
Large-scale video game competition isn't a new thing. It's been happening for as long as video games have existed. But for the sake of argument, let's accept that none of these count because they don't fit the modern definition of esports, which generally involves complex player-v-player combat where you can directly interact with the opponent. In my opinion, modern esports first developed with fighting games like Street Fighter II. In 1991, Midway sponsored a tournament in California, flying the regional winners to San Diego for the finals, where the winner earned a Street Fighter II cabinet.
Let's go!
In 1996, the Battle by the Bay was the first yearly tournament that would later become known as the Evolution Championship Series, or EVO, which now hosts the biggest fighting game tournament in the world. And of course, we can't forget about Quake's predecessor, Doom, which spawned the concept of deathmatch. In 1995, the year before Quake was released, there was a tournament called Deathmatch 95, with the finals taking place at the Judgment Day event organized by Microsoft. Dude,
he's wasting. He's wasting.
Here in Seattle for the World Doom.
Wait, that guy was wasting in 1995? Wait, what? Women's Thresh wasting? Wait, that guy was wasting, bro. Yo, wait, what the fuck? That guy was wasting.
Very naff stage thing going on behind me. Thankfully, we're not that concerned with that. What we are going to do is follow the progress of a couple of British guys who have taken part. 50,000 entrants have been whittled down to 24 finalists who've gathered here at the Windows 95 launch to decide who will quite literally win the competition.
Deathmatch 95 was essentially the first worldwide tournament.
Oh wait, was Thresh there wasting?
Tournaments to find the local champions, and then flew all of us to Microsoft headquarters in Redmond, going from playing largely at home to, you know, a stage at
maybe
Microsoft
that was Thresh.
headquarters. Not just like any tournament, like a real World Championships tournament. probably the first true esports event.
The winner was Thresh.
This is like the first pro gamer, by the way. He's not only did he invent WAST, he was crowned the title of the first person to ever be a pro gamer. Okay, literally invents WAST, and do you know what he does, bro? He says Elon Musk is complete dog shit, and he laughs at his ability to play Quake. Like, this guy's fucking legit. This guy's legit.
Same player who would go on to win Quake's first major tournament, Red Annihilation. Winning Deathmatch 95, Thresh received a new computer valued at around $10,000. These first esports tournaments didn't usually award cash prizes, because at the time it was hard to get sponsors who would fork over straight cash. Companies would rather offer up a prize, which is cheaper and has the secondary benefit of also advertising the product they wanted to promote. So I guess ultimately the argument can be made that none of these count against Elon's claim, either because they aren't face-to-face games or their tournaments only awarded prizes instead of cash. So when Elon states that he was in the first paid esports tournament, he might technically be correct from a very specific point of view. But personally, I don't think the distinction between a cash prize or any other type of prize is a helpful one in determining if Elon's second place achievement meant he was any good. Thresh, the eventual winner of Red Annihilation, didn't specifically win cash at Deathmatch 95, but that doesn't mean his victory was any less significant, and it was in part because of this first major win that Thresh would receive his first product endorsement in 96, and is considered by many to be the first esports pro. So I will let you decide if Elon's decision to exclude all tournaments that didn't specifically...
He went from Doom to then Quake, bro. It was because he's the popular FPS games. He's like the FPS guy. He's the FPS guy. He's kind of cracked.
Award cash prizes and all tournaments that might not be considered esports by today's standards is relevant, though we still don't even know if this tournament happened, or if Elon came second. And if you trust a lot of the comments online, you would be forgiven for assuming it didn't. Many people think the early history of Quake is completely documented, and because there is no concrete evidence of Musk's claim, he must be lying. But shockingly, I discovered this is simply not true. There was at least one Quake tournament with a significant cash prize that occurred before Red Annihilation, and the result of that tournament seems to have been lost to the sands of time. If Elon's story is true, I believe I've found the only tournament he could possibly be referring to. There is some credible evidence that Elon may actually be telling the truth.
Yo, what the fuck? Oh, shit. No way. This is like the God of the Gaps, bro. It's the God of the Gaps. He's found, like, the only they basically found a gap where there's this mystery tournament where it's unclear as to what happened or who won. Hey, it must be the one Elon Musk won. There it is.
In June of 2017, a user posted to the Quake forum on ESR.com that they had listened to Elon's biography. In this biography, it mentioned that Elon's company Zip2 had a team that came second in a tournament and won several $1,000s. This person wanted to know if it was true or if it was just an exaggeration. Zip2 was a company that Elon co-founded in 1995, which was an online city guide that gave users information about local businesses. The biography in question was written by Ashley Vance and was released in 2015. In it, Elon claims his team, comprised of his employees, competed in one of the first nationwide tournaments and won a few $1,000s. Most of the forum post replies were unhelpful or claimed that this was false. For example, this reply, which states that there were only 2 North American deathmatch tournaments with over $1,000 prize money, and all of the finalists were well known. However, a full 5 years after the original post, an anonymous user posted this reply.
Extremely late to the game here, but yes, Elon is 100% correct. We were the team that beat him in Zip2. We were Clan Olympus. Dumb name, yes. It was the first tournament held by MPlayer that eventually hosted...
Wait. If it's not got the best players there, it's not even a legit tournament, though, which I don't get. So how would any of that... Wouldn't they be able to instantly verify the legitimacy of this tournament by contacting the top players in Quake? Right? I don't get it. Like, legit. And if it's not got the top players, then it's not even a legit tournament regardless. Like, what?
did the Red Annihilation single-player game that awarded the Ferrari. I remember distinctly going to their webpage after playing against them in the final and seeing their About page with their executive profiles. All were unremarkable 20-something unkempt nerds, much like we were, and didn't think anything of it until Elon became a billionaire and his ties to his older companies became public knowledge.
Let's be clear, an anonymous post on an obscure message board isn't good evidence. And when I...
That's probably Elon. That's probably Elon on his other account. Like he's a classic. He's known to create multiple accounts and post on his own shit, so...
read this, I quite frankly didn't put much stock in it. Still, there are some details that are important to note here. Mainly that the clan was called Olympus, the tournament was held by MPlayer, and it was before the Red Annihilation tournament. And this wouldn't be the only player from Olympus that would step forward. After a June 2023 interview where Elon once again brought up his Quake claims, a user posted the video to Reddit, asking if anyone had any information. The anonymous post from ESR.com was reposted, which was promptly shot down, with users saying this was false because all results are available historically. But then, months later, an account with the name Ollie Sparta replied to the thread, claiming the story Elon told was true.
Ooh.
Hey there, heard about this Elon story the other day from my buddy. This story Elon told?
Wait, why has he got moist critical? Why has he got moist... What?
It's true. How do I know? I was there. We were the team that beat a Zip 2 team in this tournament you all are saying didn't happen.
Sparta also claimed to be in Clan Olympus, and gave a detailed breakdown of the tournament final. This post seemed to back up the anonymous user from ESR.com, but there were some immediate red flags that made me doubt the veracity of this story. The story gave several details that couldn't possibly be correct if Elon was telling the truth, like saying the top prize was $1,000, which makes no sense if Elon's team received several $1,000s for second place. They also thought the tournament may have been in 1998, which was a year after Red Annihilation. Sparta would continue to post replies, and his timeline of the tournament eventually returned to believable territory, clarifying that the tournament happened in 96 or 97, and that Red Annihilation happened afterwards. Sparta also claimed that if you can't find any information about the tournament, it's not because it didn't happen, it's just because any evidence was contained on the MPlayer website, which has no archives.
Regardless if it happened or didn't happen, which I honestly doubt whether it happened. Okay. It clearly didn't include any of the top players, so therefore the tournament is complete dog shit regardless. So even if it did happen, it's not legit. He wasn't one of the best players in the world. It's just, okay, either it's some like niche as fuck thing where a few people got in there and then prize money was worthless and it's not like pretty irrelevant regardless, or it's not legit because it doesn't have any of the top players. So then it's not, you can't claim to be one of the top players in the world if you just like, oh yeah, I had a LAN party with my friends and you know, there was a prize pool of $50 and I won. Oh, we actually came second place. So that means, you know what? Because you know, there was like 2 teams there, bro. I'm actually one of the best Quake players in the world. No, that's not how it works.
From that time period, which is true. The earliest MPlayer archives I can find are from 98 onwards. Sparta gave details that at the time seemed impossible to verify. For example, specific details about this alleged tournament, for which I could find no results for. But he did make claims that I could verify, which would help to establish his credibility. He claimed that in the Red Annihilation tournament, he ended up in the top 32. And sure enough, when I checked the results for Red Annihilation, there was a player named Sparta who was eliminated in the round of 32. I also found another member of his team, Ollie Hades, who also made the top 256. Shit. The fact that I could verify this part of Sparta's post made him much more credible, but it still wasn't enough for me to completely believe his story. However, if true, this post does narrow down the search for Elon's tournament. Both the anonymous user on ESR.com and Sparta claimed it was on MPlayer, so that's where my attention focused. Back in the early days of Quake, there were several platforms that casual gamers could use to play online. The 2 main ones being the Total Entertainment Network and MPlayer. These platforms allowed people to quickly and easily play Quake and other multiplayer games against other people over the internet, and they would charge players a monthly fee to use their service. MPlayer launched in late 96, and as I mentioned a moment ago, we have no archived pages from that time. so any news about any tournaments from MPlayer itself has been completely lost. But as I said, at the time, there were many various websites that posted Quake news. MPlayer had just launched, and in an effort to grow their brand, they advertised in different ways, including full-page advertisements in gaming magazines. So I searched every Quake news site that I could find for any reference to MPlayer around this time, hoping that this tournament was advertised in some way. One particular website, bluesnews.com, is especially helpful because not only did it post Quake news around that time, but it still has its full archive available, going all the way back to 1996. And lo and behold, searching for references to MPlayer, I found a post from January 3rd, 1997, which linked to an article on Next Generation announcing a Quake clan tourney with a $5,000 cash prize. Thankfully, this article was archived, and it reads, "Clans registered with MPlayer by January 2nd are eligible to participate in their Ladder to Cthulhu Quake tournament. The $5,000 prize is one of many prizes that will be awarded to participants of the tournament." What's funny about this article is that it was published January 3rd, a day after the registration cutoff. So it was essentially useless as anyone reading it was already too late to participate. This article shows there was a tournament with a significant prize pool before Red Annihilation. So it turns out Elon's tournament might be real. But the details still didn't seem to add up. Sparta said that his team won $1,000 for first place, but this article says there was a $5,000 cash prize. And I think what this article should have said is that there was a $5,000 prize pool and not a $5,000 prize. In my search, I also managed to find a second reference to this tournament. In an archived Russian PC gaming magazine from July 97, it references this exact tournament. The article itself is describing various video game tournaments for different games. And when it came to Quake...
This is crazy you can find that. How the fuck is this guy finding some Russian archive magazine from 1996? That's crazy. What the fuck?
It described two, Red Annihilation and Ladder to Cthulhu, and conveniently it listed the prize pool distribution, with first place winning $1,000. The Next Gen article and this Russian gaming magazine are the only two external sources I could find that reference this tournament. In Google Groups, I also found an HTML dump of the MPlayer website from March of '97, which shows the final was on March 22nd, and I also found a blurb from January '97 saying that 30 clans would be competing for $5,000 cash, which was a much more accurate description of the tournament prize pool. But unfortunately, I could find no other references or information about this tournament, including who actually won.
Still,
you could have found something saying is Elon Musk. There was a paid tournament on MPlayer, and the prize for first place was exactly what Sparta said it would be, $1,000. The fact that this tournament was so hard to find, and Sparta's account was as accurate as it was, makes me think it's extremely unlikely that Sparta made up this story. It seems to me that this is exactly...
It's pretty specific, and it's not like they could go back and plant that, like an archived fucking thing, right? I believe that. I believe this guy. But again, what I don't believe is that it was the top players, right? It's a meme tournament. So then if it's not the top players, then it's not... You can't claim to be one of the top Quake players.
The tournament that Sparta was referring to, and is the tournament that Elon's team competed in and came second, which also means Elon's claim of winning several $1,000s is greatly exaggerated, and what his team actually won was $750. Elon's story appears to be based somewhat in reality. Technically, he probably did come second in one...
This is what I was describing though, by the way. It's someone who basically, way back when, they got like 1900 rating in World of Warcraft, and then over the years it went from 1900 to like fucking 2000 to 2001, 2100 to 2200, and then it was they actually got glad, and they just keep embellishing and embellishing and embellishing to the point where it's entirely detached from reality. Right? This is what I think's happened, and now he believes it himself. He believes it himself.
Of the earliest paid esports tournaments. But does that mean he was any good? Does that mean he was semi-professional? Does it mean he was one of the world's best players?
No, because all the top players.
No, it certainly does not.
Fuck off.
In 1996, early Quake players were quick to try and prove who was the best, and it wasn't long before organized tournaments were being held. Competition at that time was almost exclusively team-based. Teams would be represented by clans, and originally id Software hosted a full list of clans on their website, though it wouldn't be long before players formed their own network called Clan Ring, which connected all of the clans together. Clan Ring would begin hosting tournaments from late 96, and these tournaments were where the best players became known. These tournaments were not played through online paid services such as 10 or MPlayer. Instead, matches were played through servers that people would host at their own university or workplace, places which at the time generally had the best internet connections available. While these tournaments didn't award cash prizes, they were held in the highest regard. Prizes really didn't matter. All players cared about was the esteem that came with the victory over the other clans and the respect earned from other players. These tournaments, which were run and organized by players, are well documented. There are detailed statistics and full bracket results. We know who won and which players performed well. Clan Ring players didn't play on platforms like MPlayer for multiple reasons. First, MPlayer required players to pay a monthly fee to use the service, which was an unnecessary cost when you could just use a Clan Ring server and play for free. Second, services like MPlayer did not provide the best multiplayer experience. While these services did allow casual players to easily matchmake with other players, they inserted an extra middleman, i.e. a third-party client between the player and the server, which slowed things down and caused higher latencies. In fact, even those with ISDN connections were complaining of extremely high pings. I spoke with Thresh himself, and in our conversation, he confirmed to me that the best players didn't use platforms like MPlayer for this reason.
There you go.
And you were just always playing on these self-hosted servers? You generally didn't play through platforms like 10 or MPlayer?
I mean, some people did. The best players didn't.
Mm-hmm.
There was no reason to. Why play through a service when you could just play directly?
There it is.
Yes.
More for newbies and that type of people that made it a little bit easier to onboard and get a game going. So, I think very few, if any, top players competed on those platforms unless we had to because there was some tournament going on.
I actually did manage to find a tournament before Red Annihilation, which was called Ladder to Chthon. First of all, does that ring any bells for you? Do you remember this tournament?
No.
Nope.
Yeah.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, because I found a Blues News, but by the time the article came out, you already had to be a registered user of MPlayer to even enter the tournament. So I assumed that the top players just didn't know this tournament existed because it was just on MPlayer and there just wasn't really good advertising for it.
It's quite likely because no good players play.
All the
MPlayer.
And then with this...
It's like a tournament for all the trash players, bro, for all the casuals. And all the pros not even aware of it, bro.
Red Annihilation.
Elon being a young person in it, bro. It's probably best like some children.
You just play on MPlayer for that tournament and then left the platform and didn't play on it again?
Correct. I mean, playing through the MPlayer service was not the best experience. It's not the fastest. There's latency. You go direct from the game into a hosted server will give you the best experience, obviously, as opposed to having a client and server layer by a proprietary platform that would then place you in a server or like a generalized server was never really that ideal.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's why no good players played on that stuff.
And finally, platforms like MPlayer did not differentiate players by their internet connection, which at the time was arguably the most impactful variable. Quake Deathmatch is optimized for local area network play. It was designed to run with very low latencies. When you introduce a high latency, like you would expect when you play online using a 28K dial-up modem, which was by far the most common way people connected to the internet in 1996, Quake becomes very difficult to control. I won't get into the technical details of why this is, but the end result was that if you had a dial-up connection, it was almost impossible to compete with a player who had an ISDN or broadband connection. Having a fast internet connection was such an advantage that any half-decent player with a low ping could defeat even the very best players on dial-up, regardless of their skill. This is why Joe Rogan...
Wasn't dial-up like literally like a phone sending like a tone through like a line which sent information? That's crazy. You could even play Quake through it. That's insane. 56. That's insanity.
confessed to playing a ton of Quake in the 90s, admitted to spending an insane amount of money to have a T1 connection installed at his house. Quake's network code essentially created an internet arms race amongst players, and this is why the Clan Ring tournament had two separate brackets. One for dial-up, which was called HPB, which stood for High Ping Bastards, and one for ISDN and faster, which was called LPB, for Low Ping Bastards. In December of '96, John Carmack would release an unofficial Quake update called Quake World, which
I'm an HPB gamer, bro. I'm an HPB gamer, Sag, bro. Like, I wish I was low ping. That's the one thing I hate about New Zealand. I wish I could change that about New Zealand. They need to invent some technology that goes faster than the speed of light. Now. Okay? Now. These physical limitations, it's fucking bullshit.
Designed the network code that made the game much more playable with higher latencies.
Quake World, it's basically my research project into extending the network play aspects of Quake. The first stage of it that we're in beta testing right now, that we're about ready to release, is a new network protocol that provides more latency tolerance for the client, so there's less lag, and the network play is more robust in handling of problems along the connection.
None of this is really relevant to Elon, however, as Quake World wasn't supported on MPlayer until late '97, and these early MPlayer tournaments were all played on the original release of Quake. When it was announced that the qualifying stages of the Red Annihilation tournament were to be played via MPlayer, this made a lot of people upset. Due to the fact that MPlayer was not an ideal platform for competitive play, it didn't separate players based on their internet connection, and it didn't support Quake World, most players simply had no chance of performing well. Players with broadband or cable connections had an insurmountable advantage. It's worth noting that despite the general dissatisfaction at the way the Red Annihilation tournament was run, when it came to who actually made the final top 16 that was flown to E3, every single player was an established Clan Ring competitor, which proved that Clan Ring did indeed house the best players on the planet. And when they did come over to MPlayer for this one particular tournament, they dominated. Of course, on the flip side, the situation was fantastic for Elon Musk and his prospects for winning the earlier tournament, Ladder to Chthon. Elon's company, Zip2, was a thriving internet company, which required the best internet connection.
Yo, motherfucker just played on servers where everyone else is lagging and they got like 2000 MS and he's just got like the lowest ping so he could just shit on everyone. That's the only reason he was at a place. Bro, actual pay to win. Oh my, no wonder he thinks like, what do you mean? That's what gaming is, bro. You just pay to win. What are you talking about? Everyone does that, bro. Everyone buys stuff and pays people to play your account for them, and then, that's normal.
Available by necessity, a connection that he and his employees would use while at work to play Quake.
Now Musk has his own computer command center, and his business is thriving. To his delight, Microsoft has tried, and so far failed, to get a hold in Zip2's market.
In his Reddit post, Sparta said as much, stating that Zip2 performed so well against the other competitors because of their internet connection. But unfortunately...
Alright, the reason Elon and Zip2 so good because they were on DigiXT3. They ran up against equal connection players in this tourney. I was the only T1 at my work, and another buddy was over at University of Maryland, T3.
For Elon, Team Olympus had the exact same weapon. So let's put Elon's tournament into perspective. MPlayer was a brand new paid online platform that the best Quake players didn't use. MPlayer did try to promote their event, but the promotion was so poor that by the time news of the tournament reached beyond MPlayer to places like NextGen and Blues News, it was already past the registration deadline. None of the top players knew this tournament was being held before the registration cutoff, which is why you just don't find it mentioned anywhere. Even still, the fact the tournament was run on MPlayer at all meant that most players simply wouldn't have been able to compete anyway due to their dial-up connections. So in a nutshell, Elon played in an obscure...
It's a pay piggy versus some other pay piggies. That's all it is. It's a pay piggy versus pay piggy. And nobody gives a fuck.
tournament which has no footprint and was able to roll over most of the competition because of his superior internet. And when he reached an opponent with equal footing, he lost. Ironically, the part of the story that Elon feels necessary to repeat every single time, the part where he blames his loss on the fact that a team member's computer crashed, highlights just how amateurish this tournament was.
We ended up coming second in that. We were actually coming first, but then the best. I was the second best person on the team.
So
the best
full of
person on the
shit.
team, his computer crashed halfway through the game, so
He's so full of shit.
we ended up coming second. But
We came.
The thing is, he knows that he wasn't one of the best Quake players in the world. Right? Because he has the context of understanding, oh, having good internet has a big advantage. Oh, this is an online thing. He knows. Oh, he knows. 100% he knew. 100% he knew he wasn't one of the top players. And he would totally understand he's ping abusing. Like, oh yeah, because he keep talking about how getting an internet, like paying for the bigger internet connection was just better. Because then it would give him a big advantage in Quake. Right? Like, he 100% knew he was just like paying for a mad advantage. Which means he 100% knew he wasn't as good as other players because he's having to pay for an unfair advantage to like win. So then it's like, okay, now he's out here bragging, knowing good well, like, dude, he wasn't one of the best players. And he's out here repeatedly saying he was one of the best players whenever it just wasn't the case. Which is insanity because it's like, well, how do you think people aren't going to dig? Well, I suppose people didn't dig. People didn't dig very hard until he started trying to do it. I guess then what's more insane, actually, is the fact that he thought he was going to do the exact same thing with things like Path of Exile and D4 and get away with it. Like, that's delusional, actually, right? That's mental. It's insanity. Like, how? I guess he thought he got away with the Quake thing for so long that he thought, like, fuck it, let's just start lying about every game. Like,
second, I was the second best person on the team. And the actual best person, that we were actually winning, we would have come first, except the best person on the team, his computer crashed halfway through the game. So we came second. My team came second. We would have come first, except I was the second best guy on the team, and the best guy, his computer glitched halfway through the game.
Can you imagine any reputable esports tournament that would allow the result of their grand final to be determined by a tech issue? Clearly, MPlayer did not take this tournament seriously. It was merely part of an advertising campaign to try and attract new players. To then go on to claim, because of this second place victory, that he was one of the best Quake players in the world is honestly pretty insulting. If you want to compare teams with some actual data, I found that Elon's Zip team had 2 players reach the top 256 in the Red Annihilation tournament, while the Legends clan had 6 players in the top 16 alone, with Ruthless Bastards, Extreme Prejudice, and Impulse 9 having 2 each in the top 16 as well.
dude, I don't even think he was the second best player on his team. Even in his shit team, I don't even think he was the second best. He's the egomaniac. He's probably the pay piggy that was funding everyone else, and they're like, all right, we'll bring you along, Elon. Like, he was probably the only guy paying for the internet connection, so they just probably had to keep him in the group. Let's be real.
Well, and these were well-established clans who had either won or placed very highly in the clan ring tournaments. These are clans with legitimate achievements that we can actually verify. The truth is that Elon was not very good at Quake, and while his team may have come second in a tournament, the circumstances surrounding that tournament make his victory completely empty. But don't just take my word for
Play the clip of Thresh laughing at him and saying how bad he is. Okay, come on. Play the clip.
it. There is someone else who was around at the time and who remembers playing directly against Elon Musk himself. In a 2020 podcast, Thresh, the very same player who won Red Annihilation and who was by all metrics the best Quake player in the world at the time, said Elon wasn't very good.
Well, actually, I mean, it was funny. Like Elon Musk, he's known as a huge gamer. We used to play in the same Quake server. Almost every day. I'd see him on. He'd be playing as Zip2 was his username, and a really good buddy of mine. He was okay.
Hold on, Dennis. Hold on. Was Elon Musk any good?
He was okay. I mean,
you can be honest.
He wasn't very good.
I bet Elon's seeing this and is absolutely destroying him. This sort of annihilated Elon's ego whenever he saw this. 100%. He doesn't want. He's probably so to suppress. I'm really surprised if he got like the Twitter engineers to like find this clip and suppress it in the algorithm. Actually,
But my
he's
buddy,
still a Quaker, right?
He's still an OG.
And after Elon started boasting about his Quake skills a bit more frequently and a bit more publicly, Thresh would again step in to set the record straight. In a 2024 Freethink article, speaking directly about Elon Musk, Thresh would state, "Was he any good? He was okay. I know he claimed that he was one of the top players. He was definitely not one of the top players."
There it is.
So let's compare Elon's
There it
account
is.
with the actual truth. According to Elon, he was a semi-professional Quake player who was one of the best in the world at the time. He was on one of the best teams in the world, which came second in the first paid esports tournament ever, in which he won $3,000. The truth is that while Elon did play Quake often, he was not very good. In early '97, he entered a Quake tournament that was only open to paid registered users of the brand new platform, MPlayer, a platform that no top players used. Using his superior internet connection, which gave him an unfair advantage, his team managed to come second, earning them $750. A question that arises is whether or not
He won thousands of dollars. He won thousands. You know, well, I think we won like $1,000. So I got like $1,000. You know, I think it was one of the first tournaments ever for money. Actually, first professional gamer in the world. What can I say? It's totally legit. Not pay piggy. Bro, I wouldn't be surprised if he was like actually investing in the MPlayer like fucking company. I wouldn't be surprised if his Zip2 owns shares or some shit in that company, and that's straight up.
Elon's exaggerated claims are from poor memory, intentional deception, or straight delusion. And in my opinion, it's hard to pin this down to anything other than Elon just being a dishonest person in general. Elon straight up lies a lot. For example, in one of his Joe Rogan interviews, he claims that he played Quake during his final semester in college.
Yeah. I'm in my final semester in college. I probably put more time into Quake than all my college classes.
However, it's well established that Elon Musk dropped out of his postgraduate degree in '95 to form his company Zip2.
Well, that was the summer of '95. I had no money whatsoever. I was working, doing research in Silicon Valley.
What a weaselly little liar! He's such a weaselly little dude. And for what, dude? Just to lie about computer games, even? I mean, bro, what's scariest if he's lying like this hard about being... Honestly, do you know what? I feel like that people do a thing where they attach their identity to being good at games. And like they when you criticize their gaming skill or the game that they like, they get really, really upset, and then they make up all these lies. I mean, you understand, I've interacted with thousands of them. If you do World of Warcraft PvP, people's ego is like directly intertwined with their PvP rating, or at least that's how it used to be back in the day. And that people were doing this shit with a buying rating, getting carried, doing all this stuff, and then they would have these fake achievements, and you play with them, and they'd have no idea what they're doing. It would be like playing, you know, those WoW clips of like some moron like backpedaling into fucking monsters and dying. You group with some guy, and he's got like some gladiator achievement. Clearly has no idea how to play the game. He's never done it. But he talks like, I was the top guy on the server, one of the highest ranked guy back in my day, let me tell you. And it's like the same sort of shit that Elon's doing. And I don't know what this is, if it's a coping mechanism or what's going on, but I don't know. It's crazy that literally one of the richest, if not the richest guy in the world, insanely powerful, and he's just still out here lying about some computer game he played in the 90s. And then lying about Diablo 4, and then lying about PoE. I mean, just repeat. Like, why? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing, little bro?
Completely different.
No one believes you. You're a fucking clown. You're shit at computer games. All right, dude. Like, dog. Focus on your business or whatever. Stop trying to pretend to be good at computer games when you're dog shit. All right, you ain't one of us, homie.
Subject, and trying to start this company at the same time. And when it came time to decide, do I want to do graduate studies or do I want to start this company? And I decided to start the company. I had no money. As a graduate student, I would have received a scholarship and a stipend and so forth. In starting the company, I had nothing. I had no income.
This was a...
You banned. Is it good? Kill. Okay. Was that the right name? Was that the right name? Is that the right name? Did I get him? Alright. I hope I got the right guy.
A year before.
In starting the company, I had nothing. I had no income source.
This was a year before Quake was even released, so it's impossible that Elon was playing Quake during his final semester. When Elon admitted that he wasn't the one leveling his Path of Exile 2 account, he attempted to gaslight everyone by saying that he never took...
He's so full of shit, by the way. He repeatedly claimed that. He's such a fucking moron.
...credit for leveling the account, or ever intended to. But this is again provably untrue. On Twitter, he did exactly that, saying, and I quote, "After so many deaths, I'm carefully building up a Path of Exile hardcore character." Aside from directly claiming that he was the one leveling his character, it's obvious to anyone with half a brain that streaming the character is implicitly taking credit for it. Unless you state otherwise, people are going to assume that the only person playing your character is you. Elon
jealous? No, what do you mean jealous? He's a complete moron. What are you talking about? No, it's like, how does he think people are gonna fall for this? Like, how dumb does he do it? Like, it genuinely blows my fucking mind. Genuinely blows my mind. Like, do you think this has worked out well for him? Do you think this has been good PR for him? Like, I don't think it has. I think every gamer with like it's worth his salt is called his ass out because they're like, it's obvious. Like, people who don't even play PoE can see like, oh yeah, he's full of shit. Like, look at this. Like, legitimately. Like, what's... It's some clown shit, bro. What are you doing, Elon? What are you doing?
Also claimed to be one of the best Diablo 4 players in the world, and his evidence for this was that he had a top-ranked time in an endgame dungeon
on a third-party website which nobody fucking even posts to, bro. This is literally like fucking 15 like guys
called The Pit.
So are you in the top 20 in the world?
It's not even legit.
In Diablo.
It's not an official leaderboard.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I don't wish to spend too much time debunking this, as on a fundamental level, using this particular metric to distinguish players' skill is nonsensical.
I don't even think it's his gameplay, by the way. If you look at the keybinds, of his character, they shift between clips, and then the clears, where he's actually playing himself, you have this awful mic noise. It's like clearly bad gameplay. He's dying repeatedly, and whenever it's like his guy clearing a fucking top rift, it's like different keybinds with different, like just completely different sound and graphic settings. And it's like, okay, so some guy just clears the rift on your account and then sends you the video, and then you post it to your Twitter and say you did it. And nobody gives a fuck about it because it's not even an official fucking clear on the official leaderboard or anything like that. It's a third-party website where you submit a clip to, which fucking barely anyone's even doing, so nobody even fucking cares.
To begin with. One of the core tenets of esports and speedrunning is that every single competitor begins from the same position. In speedrunning, unless stated otherwise, you use a brand new save file, carrying over nothing from previous playthroughs. This ensures that comparisons to other players are fair. When it comes to comparing pit times in Diablo 4, this is not the case, as you enter the dungeon already fully equipped. In this example, the most important factor isn't your skill, it's your gear. It's the specific build you choose to use, which involves many factors.
Which Erong Ma has admitted to, just by the way, RMTing and having a guy plays account for him, by the way. So it's complete bozo shit.
That have nothing to do with skill. The point is illustrated perfectly by the huge discrepancy in clear times for different classes. Elon's class, Spiritborn.
Okay, this guy's, I'll be honest, this Cal Jobs guy's kind of out of touch here. He's kind of out of touch here. Yes, there's different power levels of classes, but that's why you compare them for our class. It doesn't matter. The reality is it's a third-party leaderboard, which you have to manually submit shit to, which there's been like a total of 300 players in the world that have even submitted to this website. It's complete farce. The whole thing's a massive meme. It means nothing. All these classes mean nothing.
Could clear tier 150 in a couple of minutes, while all of the other classes took well over 10 minutes to clear a much lower tier. And the only reason Spiritborn could do so well is because players, including the player pretending to be Musk, were abusing unintended exploits to one-shot mobs, making the dungeon absolutely trivial to complete. I'm not saying there isn't some skill involved, but unless everyone is using the same class, the same build, and the exact same gear...
No, that's the whole point, though. It's part of the... Okay, dude. Don't let fucking Elon Musk taint class-based leaderboards. It's still fine. You don't know the whole point of an ARPG is to have different character optimizations and have different gear and figure out different strategies and methods to like clear something and push it further and invent a new meta that someone hasn't done. Okay, I get he's looking for a lens of a speedrunner, but this is not that.
impossible to accurately determine a player's skill level. And because Elon admitted to paying for someone else to play his account and give him the best gear, not only does he not deserve any credit for what his character can do, but it's probably not even him playing in his uploaded speedruns. He lied about everything else.
He's completely full of shit. I think he's completely full of shit. I don't think he played. I think all his default clears are complete. The only clears he did, where when he was on his fucking stream, what did he say? I play with the best players in the world. Where he's playing with Rob from the Block, and Rob from the Block is just soloing the entire dungeon, and Elon Musk is trailing behind, just like picking up loot and dying. That's all that it is. That's the only thing. Okay, and you see the gameplay difference is complete. It's like Elon Musk with some Xbox 360 mic. You can hear like his keyboard going. Yeah, and it's just him getting carried by Rob from the Block. That's literally it.
The chance of him being honest in this instance is extremely slim, and because he has lied so much already, I would need better evidence than just a screen capture to prove it was him actually playing.
Yep.
It boggles my mind that a man with so much money and power is still so insecure that he feels the need to try and convince people that he's also God's gift to gaming.
It's pathetic.
Not only is he deluded, but he's an insult to the actual professional...
The way he smirks, bro, when he says that shit. I was one of the best players in the world. I was one of the most professional, best top Quake players. Actually, one of the first tournaments. You could say I'm actually the first professional gamer in the universe, and we would have won if it hadn't been for the computer bug.
Gamers who devote their lives to this one endeavor. Elon might enjoy playing video games, which I think is pretty cool, but he certainly doesn't respect other gamers. Because if he did, he would stop downplaying their achievements by claiming that you don't need to work as hard as they do to be the world's best. Professional esports players practice 12 hours a day, and only a gifted few are able to rise to the very top.
Ridiculous.
But if you're as amazing as Elon, you can run multiple companies, you can help audit the US government and hang out all day at the White House and still be the best Diablo 4 player in the world, while also having the highest ranked hardcore character in Path of Exile 2 and have...
Let's not get twisted. He was never the highest ranked. Okay, let's not get twisted. Okay, and on top of that, he was never playing this character. But still. Okay.
Lex Friedman...
He would make it... It'd make you believe that if he could.
Call you a world-class, incredible video game player.
Like, you're actually like a world-class, incredible video game player.
Why does no one... What's the deal with these guys? This fucking Lex Friedman and Joe Rogan. Why has no one told Joe, be like, yo, you know Elon is full of shit, right? Is it because they'll never come on their podcast again? What is this? Why they never broadcast that? It pisses me off, actually. Like, that's what I was thinking. Joe Rogan, like, what would Elon do if Joe Rogan just directly calls him out and be like, yo, so you were, like, never one of the top Quake players and you've been, like, full of shit this whole time, eh? Like, I watched a fucking 40-minute documentary which basically debunked everything you've ever said. You know what I'm saying? Why doesn't that happen? Why doesn't that... Rogan, why does he not call out Elon? But isn't the whole point of Joe Rogan to do that? Like, isn't he like the fucking guy who would, like, he'll have a convo about anything? Like, even if it's about aliens and DMT? Like, what the hell's, what the fuck?
But of course, only if you're as amazing as Elon. Ultimately, it doesn't matter if Elon is or isn't the greatest gamer of all time, like he wants you to believe. But his insistence on exaggerating or lying about everything has made me lose trust in everything else he says. If he lies so much in the one area that I know something about, how much is he lying and exaggerating in the fields that I'm not an expert?
It's spooky, bro, because I'd heard all the people saying, like, yo, Elon knows fuck all about the computers. Elon knows fuck all about coding. Elon knows fuck all about rockets. Elon knows, and it's like, okay, he comes into games, and it's like, wait a minute. Elon knows fuck all about games. He's, like, completely clueless, and he's acting like he's a top gamer. It's just logic. It's basic logic. So is the whole guy is he just a fucking pathological liar that just makes up shit? But then how could he get to this point? So surely it just must be gamer ego syndrome.
expert in. When
Surely.
Elon says he's going to send humans to Mars, is this just
Money.
another exaggeration? When he talks about all of the amazing things his companies can do for humanity, are these just exaggerations also? Personally, I don't know because I'm not an expert, and I'm not saying he definitely lies everywhere, but personally, I've heard him lie enough that I just cannot take the man seriously any longer, which I think is unfortunate. So now I'm left wondering, is Elon Musk a con man in every facet of his life, or is it just video games? Please let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.
No, I went into watching the video. And I was like, it's going to be 40 minutes of shit I've already seen. Which, don't get me wrong, I think I probably had seen every clip. But this section here where he, like, deep dived and found Russian magazines, bro, fucking documenting some ancient tournament, I was impressed. That was a level of depth and deep diving that I had not seen anyone do for any of the Elon videos. Very impressive research. Very impressive research. Elon Musk was no good at Quake. There it is. War Thunder. Oh, shit. It's going to remove your blade true check mark for this one. You could have gone to the same drum everyone did, but instead you knuckled down into more obscure history. Yeah, that's what I'm impressed with. Yeah, true. I'm impressed with that. I genuinely thought it was going to be like, oh, he's just going to react to the thing and being, like, bad at Path of Exile. And, you know, he'll talk about, like, you know, impressive.